All right, so today we have a clip here of Matt Walsh talking about transgenders once again.
This is why we need to call more attention to the callous, narcissistic disregard that the gender ideologue has for his own loved ones. This is, as I said, a central feature of the ideology. There's a reason why so many of transgenderism's most prominent mascots are, grown men who, quote, transitioned later in life and intentionally destroyed their marriages and families in the process. Take Rachel Levine, for example, 65 years old today. That means he decided to, quote, come out as a woman in 2011, which means that he was in his early 50s, when he made that decision.
Okay.
He had a wife who he'd been married to for years. He had 2 kids. Putting everything else aside, just think about how unfathomably selfish you have to be, how uncaring and heartless to tell your wife that her husband is gone and now she has to get used to being married to a woman. And guess what? You're in a lesbian relationship now, whether you like it or not. And to tell your children that their father is gone. They no longer have a father. Their father is dead. And now they must simply accept that they have 2 moms. Consider how disastrously self-absorbed you must be to put this weight, this burden on your family, on those who depend on you.
So
but what
selfish.
is Levine supposed to do? Is he supposed to suppress his deepest desires and live as a man even if he doesn't feel like one? Even if it makes him uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Yes, of course that's what he's supposed to do. Of course.
Of course.
Now, this may come as a shock to the left. I know it comes as a shock to them.
We're going to pause it in a minute.
But there are more important things in your life than your desires, especially desires that are so deeply disordered. Your responsibility to your family is one of those things. And now we get to the part that very few people ever say out loud. And I have, as you know, many arguments against
Matt Walsh is courageous enough to say the quiet part.
gender ideology. I've articulated all of them many times. But here's another point in addition to those that needs to be acknowledged.
Okay.
As we know, you cannot be any sex other than the one you were born as.
Not true, but we have to keep going. I know it's been a long time listening to him
Attempt to transition is ultimately doomed to failure. It fails before it even begins. But also, not only do you have no choice but to be the sex that you are,
No.
you also have the responsibility to accept that fact and live accordingly. Okay, a man has the responsibility to live as a man and act as a man, and a woman as a woman. You have a responsibility, in other words, to live in reality.
So, that was Matt Walsh said a lot of things there, and he's saying that you can't be another sex other than the one that you were assigned at birth. He said that it doesn't matter what you think or what you want, but you have to be the sex that you are assigned at birth. But something that Matt Walsh, I don't know if he's ever talked about, is the actual science behind transgenderism. That's not a term that's really used in, most academia most of the time. People don't use transgenderism or gender ideology. Matt Walsh says that term a lot too, gender ideology, and what gender ideology actually is because he doesn't use it in this way, but gender ideology is what roles society deems appropriate for a person who would identify as a man and someone who would identify as a woman to play, in their lives, in their family lives and stuff like that. But he likes to use it with transgenderism, or with transgenders, I should say, sorry. But it doesn't have anything to do with that. But Matt Walsh is really just likes to boil everything transgender down to just, you can't be, if you're born a man, you're a man, and if you're born a woman, you're a woman, and that's the end of story. But he doesn't ever really show you guys any science, doesn't show his audience any science behind any of this. But there's research on this stuff is still new, but there's a lot of different articles. There's a lot of really good articles from a bunch of different publications talking about this types of stuff. And something that Matt Walsh is seemingly, I don't think he's ever spoke about, and I've tried to look for it, is the fact that and again, this is facts. Facts don't care about your feelings. Remember that. I think that that's what Matt Walsh's boss Shabibo would say. That meant this is from Harvard too. Ben Shapiro went to Harvard, so mental health benefits of gender affirming surgeries are, it's literally pretty much only a positive. Okay. Gender affirming surgeries are associated with numerous positive health benefits, including lower rates of psychological distress, suicidal ideation, as well as lower rates of smoking. And, what's the rhetoric you hear from the right? Oh, this is mental health crisis. All of the shootings that happen, that's a mental health crisis. They say they're big on mental health. Okay. Gender affirming surgery, especially for youths, is literally, it improves their mental health. Why is Matt Walsh not talking about that? Why is Candace Owens, fucking Ben Shapiro, why are they not going to tell you this? They did a study which included nearly 20,000 participants, 38.8% of whom identified as transgender women, 32.5% of whom identified as transgender men, and 26.6% of whom identified as non-binary. Of the respondents, 12.8% had undergone gender-affirming surgery at least 2 years prior, and 59.2% wanted to undergo surgery but had not done so yet. And gender-affirming surgeries were associated with a 42% reduction in psychological distress and a 44% reduction in suicidal ideation when compared with transgender and gender-diverse people who had not had gender-affirming surgery but wanted it, according to the findings. So if we're going to look at the facts and examine all of the evidence and, not just sit there and sit in front of the camera and go on this, I'm sure he thinks he's very noble going on that little rant that he went on, that little speech he gave. This is an article from the Telegraph, which I'm not big on the Telegraph, but this is the article that was cited in what I was reading. Professor Julie Baker, who is one of the lead researchers at the University of Liege in Belgium, Germany, she said that although research is needed, we now have evidence that sexual differentiation of the brain differs in young people with gender dysphoria as they show functional brain characteristics that are typical of their desired gender. We will then be better equipped to support these young people instead of just sending them to a psychiatrist and hoping that their distress will disappear spontaneously. They did MRIs on these people, scanned their brains to see, what is what. That's how they came to these conclusions. Okay, and again, Matt Walsh, he doesn't ever say any of this stuff. They say that they follow the science. They say facts don't care about your feelings. This is that stupid shit that they say all the fucking time. But when it's science or facts that they don't like, they're not going to talk about it. They're not going to show it to them. They're not going to show their audience what the facts really say. It's just mind-boggling to me that these people go around and say all of this shit, and act like they know what they're talking about when they're literally just ignoring the actual science. They're ignoring what the facts say, and they're just trying to get people to agree with their bigoted opinion. That's really what Matt Walsh and the Daily Wire is. It's just a bunch of people sharing their opinions because it's not really journalism, because it's not true, right? I mean, what they're saying is wrong. But, that's going to be it for the video.